Linux Out Lod is firing up our mic, connecting those headphones as we prepare to get rowdy, and I guarantee you we will. I'm Wendy, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts, Matt and Nate. We are three friends sitting around a virtual table talking Linux, open source, tech, gaming, and everything in between. We keep the banter friendly, the conversation somewhat on topic, and have fun doing it. This week, we're spouting off about all of the hardware we've got going on. Let's get into episode 91. Welcome back, Matt.
Welcome, I'm kidding, Matt. I missed you.
I called you Batman.
I mean, well, he's nowhere like Batman. He sometimes talks like Batman, actually, when you say it.
Stop lying. Stop lying.
I'm not lying. I'm sitting.
We missed you last week, though. It was kind of fun to have Matt. Sorry. It was pretty fun to have Bill fill in again. It's been a while since he's been on the show. He's got lots of cool things to talk about, too. And we even got to have some gaming topics, even though you weren't here to fill us in on some gaming stuff.
I know. I did hear Bill give me a shout out for recommending Heroic Launcher to him so he could play some games in his, as he stated, limited free time with some friends. Funny how that works. Yes. I would never be an enabler, would I, Nate?
No,
you are a network-wide enabler.
I don't know what you're talking. I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what? Before you go on any further, go look at your Telegram history of how you start conversations with me. And then
does it start out with, "Hey, I found this game," or "There's this game right now on sale or for free"? Because I got one of those today too for the kids.
Or here's this interesting piece of hardware that you don't need, you have no reason for, but check this out. And then he sends me down a rabbit hole that lasts, I don't know, probably about an hour. So I lost an hour of my life looking at a laptop that has two screens built into it. Like, there's no you know that, like, I can't control myself. Why would you do that?
I can't say how the euphemism or the comparison and analogy comparison I want to use because it's not network friendly.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the bleep part, Wendy.
Okay. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Which is why you're an enabler, right?
No,
yes, he is.
I might enable the situation. I don't enable you to purchase it. You choose to purchase it.
Now, I didn't purchase it. One is for pre-order, and so I'm not going to do. I'm not putting that down. But two, I'm on the framework train, and I'm going to stay on the framework train. So I don't care how much you try and tempt me away from it. I'm staying on the framework train.
So when the framework comes out with a laptop that you can have two screens on, he's going to be all in on that one. Yes.
Oh, I've done far worse already.
JSOC?
Yes, JSOC's the dual the Flip Go. I'm using it right now.
Which you shared with me before. Yeah. When does that come in for you?
It's already in and being utilized right now. So I have cool. Technically, it's only 6 screens, but it looks like 7 screens, and I have it kind of behaving like 7 screens. So
nice.
And
nice.
Somehow that purchase I'm being blamed for because when I introduced no, you don't get to explain this one. You're the one throwing shade at me. You blame me because I introduced you to JSOC when they weren't making these devices.
That is true.
They were making SteamDeck devices.
Right.
You decided to back the Indiegogo when you saw it.
It was a Kickstarter, not an Indiegogo. And yes.
Whatever.
So to be fair, the product itself that you got for your SteamDeck must have been pretty good quality for you to go ahead and be like, okay, I'll jump in on this pre-order.
Yep, still using it. It works great for my SteamDeck. Yep. It's a SteamDeck dock. And after I got that one, then they brought some even cooler docks. And I'm like, well, if I'd waited a week, I'd have spent even more. Good thing I didn't wait.
On this one instead, yeah.
Right. So instead, I dropped about $500 on a Kickstarter that I got, and I'm extremely happy with.
It's nice that they're at least delivering on the products that they say they're going to, unlike some other companies, which I'm not going to name names, Librum, but it's great.
Sure, someone's going to leave an angry comment after that one.
I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure they're
Please,
going to. Hey,
all the angry comments.
It's all responses that actually help us, so go for it. I have no qualms with that. Now, Matt, you have jumped on the Surface Book train again. This is the Surface Book True. You're using it for your travels, but you've had some issues with it.
So, anybody who knows these devices, I actually started Wendy down the rabbit hole of the Surface devices.
Yes, enabler.
I will own that one. Despite my disdain generally for most things Microsoft, I will say from a hardware design and a hardware perspective,
they do good. Oh, you got one too?
Well, this is actually mine.
But the devices themselves that they make are fantastic.
Good hardware. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the OS, however, is still god-awful. So this shipped with no OS. So I had to install, mind you, the actual official recovery image, the default recovery image from Microsoft for Windows 10, I think is 2H22, which is like the newest version at the time for this device. 2.5 hours.
Nice.
From installation of downloading the media to install and final update. This doesn't count.
Wow.
This does not count. And I repeat, not count app removal, app integrate, like app installations, all that stuff. Super annoying.
So was this an internet speed issue on top of it, or were you getting really good speeds during the whole update?
I'm on a 200 down. I don't remember the exact. It's 200 down and it's like 100 up or something. So like I'm not on a slow
connection. Yeah. So, not on a slow connection.
It wasn't a speed issue. It was god awful. The Windows experience of installation on their own hardware. It's terrible. Yeah. I'm not even getting into the OS, but that's just the default experience.
In fairness, I think Windows isn't meant to be installed by just a common user. I mean, it's definitely more challenging, and it's definitely more challenging than I think it should be.
Typically, it's meant to be being installed OTA, or from your manufacturer and that kind of thing. But I don't see how that's beneficial for the manufacturer either to have an install that takes that long.
I'm sure they probably have things automated, so they probably got a lot of things. Yeah. I'm sure there's some tooling for that. I'm sure like I think Azure or Entrada or Entra, whatever it's called now, that they have.
And they're probably expecting that you're going to get the latest updates whenever you boot into it for the first time, because they sometimes have their custom versions of Microsoft that have all kinds of crud on top of it that you got to get rid of. More so than if you're just installing it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know, because I also have to uninstall all the Microsoft Office crap that I don't use. I have to uninstall. And like this is supposed to be a business machine. I get it. Like blah 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 blah, whatever. So the problem didn't stop there, though. I went and did Linux. I was like, okay, fine then. I've had a Surface Book before. I've had the performance base. I kind of know the rigmarole with this. I've had other Surface devices. Cool. I go down the Surface rabbit hole of is it Surface Linux, Surface, whatever, the Surface Linux, I think is
the custom kernel. Yeah.
Yeah. So I go down that route. That has its own caveats of problems. Supposedly the touchscreen works. Touchscreen don't work. Just on mine.
For you. Because I haven't had any issues with that on the devices we've had.
Probably a PEPCAC issue.
Well, so I'll get into what potentially the issues are. If I wanted to actually want to eject the tablet, there's a button up here that you press to actually eject it so you have the tablet without the base. Right. So it becomes an Intel system. You have to have a very specific daemon running all the time. Now, I could automate it But if you don't understand what it's for, you're not going to know what package to install to begin with, which is the actual thing that you need to install on this is called Surface DXT daemon, or so that you can eject the tablet. Super annoying. It's just little things like that constantly add up to make the experience worse on Linux than it was on Windows. And Windows is not stellar by any means on this device.
Yeah.
That being said, it's back on Windows 10 for the too many paper cuts issue. However, the biggest flaw of this device as a whole, hardware, is that if you run this system full tilt, say you're running a game, max settings, everything, so your CPU, GPU, all that stuff, max tilt, it doesn't draw enough power from the wall to actually charge the actual system. They ship it with a 102 watt charger. It draws more than 102 watts.
Wow.
So when you see the battery going down while it's plugged in, and you're like, what the heck?
See, and that's not something that I even realized was an issue with this device, because I've never gamed on the ones that we have had.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got no idea on that one. And then, so on the ones that we have, they are running that custom Surface kernel. The one I handed to my dad is running elementary, and it had touchscreen and all of that stuff working out of the box. And I know I've mentioned that before, but whatever magic sauce elementary has going on in the back made it so that the Surface device seemed to work pretty fine. Now, I don't know if that magic sauce goes back to being able to attach and detach the keyboard from it, but I didn't even show my dad that that was an option. So
not an option. Don't do it.
Right. But as far as that, like, elementary was a very nice out of the box experience for the Surface Book device that my dad got.
So part of this wants me to chalk this up to being, this is a NVIDIA / Intel system. So the performance base is running NVIDIA. It's a GTX 1060 and an Intel integrated GPU. So like when you detach the actual screen as a tablet, that becomes the Intel system. And then
that's definitely different than the ones that I've owned too, because all the ones that I own don't have a dedicated GPU as part of them at all.
So that, I think, is part of the problem, because it gets, and certain issues with Linux is like, if you unplug it from the wall, power states are weird, and like, and it's not a Linux specific. Well, it's a device specific issue with Linux.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not just a Linux issue itself. It's a hardware issue communicating with the software issue. So
it's kind of like the issues that we've had with that Lenovo laptop that my daughter is currently using, that I did buy from you. But it has the NVIDIA graphics card in it, but you can't turn off the Intel graphics. They have to both be running at the same time, and trying to get Bumblebee or Optimus working has been a ripping pain in the rear end. So it's kind of one of those things that if you're running Linux on it, getting that NVIDIA graphics card to work and work properly has been a bit of a pain. It kind of seems like this Surface device is in that same generation or issues with Linux.
Which is weird because, like, if you look at the wiki and the state of like the Surface kernel itself, a lot of this stuff is supposed to work. There are a few caveats that they do list. I ran into caveats they don't list. So it just wasn't a great experience, and I'm not ragging on the project or anything. I'm just saying my experience with it. And I'm not a Windows guy. Anybody that knows, like, I will nuke and pave Windows to oblivion before I even first boot the thing. But for this, it's what's best for the hardware, unfortunately.
How many different Linux distributions did you try before going back to Windows?
I tried straight Ubuntu, and I did a straight Arch install. This is another thing. It doesn't actually have a Ethernet adapter. You have to use the dock that I have to have the plug, or do it that way through USB-C and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, super annoying. No Wi-Fi to do it that way. So, because you have to install a Broadcom specific, was it Max?
Right.
No,
so they're definitely slim. They're definitely a super slim device.
I already know the answer to this, but so Linux Saloon regular, he's moving right now, so he can't make he's got some turbulence in his life, so Colin can't be a Linux Saloon lately. But he has a Surface Go, and he had really good experience with running OpenSUSE Tumbleweed on it because it had a lot of the extra little bits and bobs in there. And
of course, you would recommend SUSE.
so honestly, I mean, it's because it's pretty, up to date and everything else. So I'm wondering how that would. I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious as to how well that would work versus maybe some of these others. Because sometimes things like just surprise you how like it just OpenSUSE just won't run on it, and sometimes it surprises you how well it runs on it. So it's just
I'm not disagreeing. Unfortunately, Nate, I'm like you. Once something's working, just for you, OpenSUSE works.
Just leave it alone. Yeah.
Right now, as weird as it sounds to say, Windows is working. Currently, for this device, Windows is working, so I'm just leaving it alone.
So the show is Linux Out Loud, not Windows Out Loud.
Not Windows.
I know because it. Listen, Mr. Windows admin.
I do more than just Windows. I wouldn't call myself much of a Windows admin.
So my daughter is actually using a service device to write her code for the FTC robot. And one of the advantages of that service device is it's very light. It's very easy to get back and forth. So I think that one's running Kubuntu, and it probably does need to be updated. After we get back from this next... I guess it's not really a full competition, but they will be running their robot there. Once we get back from that one, it might be a good time to go ahead and upgrade it to the latest release of whatever. It's been forever since I've actually dealt with that custom kernel for it. But I know in those cases, and this one not having the NVIDIA graphics card, that makes a world of difference, right? It makes a world of difference. It is running just fine.
I agree. Now, most people are going to wonder why the heck I bought a Microsoft device for this specifically. Mm-hmm. It was mostly cost. Not going to lie. It's an i7 4-core 8-thread, 16 gigs, terabyte SSD, a GTX 1060, and it was under $300.
Nice. Yeah, and it is an older generation, but at the same time, for what you're needing it for, having it light and portable and good cost all wrapped up into one good device for you.
Yeah, honestly, it sounds great to me. It really does. I would love to see how OpenSUSE ran on there. That's what gets me excited. Like, how well does it run?
Okay, so in order for OpenSUSE to get installed on this device, Matt is going to have to send it to you. You can install it and then send it back, because I don't think it's going to happen any other way.
I would, honestly, if he did something like that, I would pay for shipping both ways.
So this is no different than Wendy. At some point, you're going to end up installing a custom ROM on this thing.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good.
Unihertz Titan stuck in Android 10, 11, something.
Oh, yeah.
Or I might make you install the Ubi ports, because I know it works on these too.
Oh, cool. That would be fun.
I'm check out with that. Personally, I want to check out the new post-market OS. I'd like to see how that runs.
But anyway, yeah, there's a new post-market OS. But anyway, while I'm looking at portable hardware, Nate, you're looking at something that's a little more immobile.
Yes, you can put it on your lap if you want, but it's going to hurt, and you're probably cut off blood supply. So I'm talking about someone who I know does listen to this program as well as Linux Saloon, and who used to be my predecessor where I work now. He gave me a Dell PowerEdge R710 and some other stuff, but I'm potentially going to turn this into my next server build. In fact, I'm like 99% sure, but I'm still going to say potentially, because by the numbers, it's going to be a little more expensive doing this, even though I already have the hardware, than building from scratch with consumer grade hardware. But hear me out. This is what I'm thinking. So with actual server grade material machines, you have more. It has built-in buy the hardware, some built-in RAID functionality, and a bunch of other lickies and chewies that make it great for the purpose of using it as a server. Now this is an R710, so it's about 12, 13, maybe 14 years old. So it's older. It uses DDR3 memory, but at the same time, it's kind of a good thing because I think parts are pretty cheap for it right now, and that's pretty handy. So it has for a CPU, it has 2 CPUs on there, and they're Intel Xeon E5620, which gives me 16. It says by when you do benchmarking, it looks at as 16 processors available, which is really, I think by today's standard isn't a lot. And the when I ran benchmarks on it, it is slower than my framework, but I think that the difference there is it's designed to be able to run at maximum for an extended period of time. So there's that as well, because it has better thermal management than a laptop. And then currently it has 24 gigabytes of storage in it, but it has 18 DIMM slots, DDR3 slots. And then so doing a little, looking at the spec sheet, I can go up to 288 gigabytes of storage on there. And is there anything that I'm doing that would require that much memory? No, absolutely not. But how cool would it be to have that much memory? So I'm not going to go that far. I'm not going to go that crazy. But I think what I'm going to do is leave the 24 gigabytes that are in there and then add another 192 gigabytes. So 12, 16 gigabyte, DDR3 DIMMs for it. And so that gives me 216 total. And I think that's reasonable. And so I'm telling my oldest is having a more of a, I guess he's more interested in technology. He's becoming, we built a computer together. Now he's saving up for a framework. And so he thinks it'd be cool to max it out, but I don't go too crazy. I think 216 is plenty of RAM. And then for storage,
what's the max out for that?
288 gigabytes.
I don't know. I'm with your son. Max it out.
All right. I don't need you enabling me to.
Hey, Nate.
It really would. Yes.
Follow your son's advice and Wendy's advice. Max it out.
Max it out.
You want to.
No, I'll think about it. Do I have to do it immediately? Can I walk into it?
No. No. Don't give him a choice, Wendy.
Don't give me a leeway.
Don't give him a choice. If you're going to enable him, you got to enable him the right way. No, there is no choice. You either max it out or you don't.
I didn't know I was doing it wrong.
And he's got the blinking eyes going, so it means he's going to max it out now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking about it.
Yes.
All right. I'll ask my son what he thinks. I'll say that my co-host on Linux Out Loud want me to do this. Do you think I should too? And of course he wants it. So
he's going to say yes.
Well, yeah, he might.
Enable our wins.
I'll think about it. And then for storage, it has 8 2.5-inch slots. So it's basically a small form factor server. It's a 2U machine. So I'd have to get 2.5-inch hard drives. And so I'm looking at actually getting hard drives, not SSDs, because the price of SSDs still just a little bit too much. But for spinning
that
rust,
much storage, yeah.
Yeah. So I think if I get 8 5 terabyte hard disk drives and then put them in RAID 6, so then 2 would be basically backup, or I could do 1. But anyway, I think having 2 backup I think would be good because I might be a little slow to get a replacement or replacements. So that would then I would have 30 terabytes of storage.
Nice.
So I think that would be good. Right now my current server has 5.5, and that's basically maxed out now. And I've got a drive failure, so my performance is degraded. And then there's no GPU on board, and the onboard graphics of the thing is terrible. But my plan really wasn't to use this for anything but just being a server, and I can I want to do some experimentation with it, like running some VMs on it using Cockpit, and just kind of expanding some of my sysadmin on Linux, going abouts, and just learning and doing and creating things, destroying things, not like physically destroying anything, but well, maybe, but going through and doing stuff like that. So but then as my son is helping me with this, so we got this thing. It's very it's very dusty. It's kind of been. I think it actually might have come out of where I worked, but like went through a few hands before coming back to me. So I think because I saw one just like it that's not being utilized in the server rack today that I didn't pay attention to before. But anyway, which that one will play with too, but not at home, over there at work, which I'm actually very excited about. Anyway, so I thought, well, can I? There are 4 PCI slots in there. Now they're not the 16X or the 8X, so they're not full, and they're blocked off in the back. And I thought, well, I wonder if I can shove a GPU in here. And doing a little research, I found that somebody has actually put a GPU in there. But one of the problems is that there is no way to plug in those the power headers on the graphics card. So I'm going to use maybe this one. There's no way to plug into it to power the thing. So, but there is one wiring harness in there that goes from the front of the main board, to the where the drives are and everything else in the front of the faceplate. And so, doing a little research there, it has the same voltages that I need for this. So it's just a matter of getting a cable and making it happen, essentially. So I have to purchase that and then do some modifications to it. Put I think it's 12 volt, 5 volt, and then ground. I think it's 3 ground. Anyway, I don't remember it offhand, but I got to figure that out. So there isn't any one single resource that helps me to get all this information in once. Like I can't just watch one YouTube video out there and be like, oh, this is what I need to do. So there's actually a couple of YouTube videos and then a couple of posts that I'm going to basically make a Cubicle Nate version of that. It won't be anytime too soon because I got, for budgetary reasons, I can't do this right now because somebody happened to buy some screens. So that
just happened to buy some screens.
These things happen somehow.
Somehow he's going to blame me for this purchase.
No, now I can blame you because you guys are peer pressuring me into maxing out to 288 gigabytes of RAM.
No. We will totally own the RAM. You purchasing more screens is all on you, bro.
I don't know what you're saying. I can't understand it. So, my brain wiring harness is not fixable. It's frayed, Matt. So I see what you put there in the show notes. So my plan is I'm going to put OpenSUSE Tumbleweed on it because it's a great server OS. I don't care what anybody says. It works just fine. I can update it whenever I want. Well, I'm going to put a GeForce RTX 2060 in there, and which is it's going to fit. It's going to be a tight fit, but it'll fit because it's a double wide. It's not a single wide. It's like a nice trailer, not one of those little crappy ones you get at the trailer park. But there's space for it, and I can make it fit. I will have to take off. I'll either have to modify or remove this plastic shroud, which may or may not be a good idea. But anyway, not a problem. And then my thought is, so my son actually wants to use it as another gaming PC in the basement by the server rack because they do have a big monitor down there. And I thought, well, what if maybe instead, if I use, and it's just a thought, but if I use like USB over Cat5 and then run, and also HDMI over Cat5 and run that behind the living room, because this thing's not going to be real quiet when you're using it, right? So I could then route, basically switch and have it route upstairs into the living room. So you'll probably still hear the server, but it'll be behind a door and the floor and such. And so it won't be quite as noticeable. And it might, I don't know, maybe it'll be a good gaming machine. I don't really know. I mean, it's far more power than my SteamDeck or the Atari VCS that Matt enabled me to buy has. And so that,
you want another one.
Stop it. Just stop. Don't, because I want it. But I have priorities and I have a budget and I'm going to stay within my budget. So anyway, that's what's going on. I did get it. I just stop it. Just Matt. I have mine right behind that AMSI 8080, which I didn't need either. So anyway, this morning, actually in between working out, I did get that thing operational. I just kind of put one drive in there and set it up just so I could just do some tests on it. It's a pretty peppy machine, other than the GPU performance is terrible. And I don't know, I'm really kind of excited about this. I could do something for cheaper, but I think I really want to have that drive management, the hardware RAID over the software RAID, because then I'm not limited as to how I use, the file system on top of it. So it kind of frees me of some of those limitations. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at, and I'm pretty excited. I think probably in about 6 weeks or so this will be done, because I have to stay within my budget.
So you said that this was going to cost you more than if you went with another solution. Where is the expense in this? Is it in the hard drives, or what is causing that? The hard drives.
So yeah, the hard drives. So the other solution that I had been starting to drive down, and I already bought a motherboard for, which wasn't expensive, would be about $200 or $300 less, but it would also have less storage overall too. It would be less storage space as well. So for this, the most economical solution I could find, like, where you find the price per gigabyte of storage, five or price per terabyte, I should say in this case, was going with the 5 terabyte drives. Those are currently the most cost efficient. Now, it's not the cheapest option, but is the most bang for my buck, essentially. And that's why I want to maximize that more than I want to maximize storage, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get that. And putting the money into storage, I don't think is a bad thing.
No, I think it's a good idea, I think. And most of it's going to basically be, I have a problem where, we do these shows, I save recordings, or like not lately as much, but I do a lot of content creation stuff. So I have a lot of raw files, and there's something about just hitting delete on it that just kind of bothers me, because I put all that time into it, like even the raw footage, and I just don't want to throw it away, because maybe there's something of value there, and there probably isn't, but I'm just hoarding it like an old toy box that has, my G.I. Joes and Transformers crammed in it that I haven't touched in
Here's
a
the
decade.
thing. I absolutely get it. Every single show I've edited, I think I finally got rid of all the DL and Extend stuff. But every episode of LOL that I've ever edited, I still have all the episodes of DL, everything. Yes, I still have that sitting on a drive. I get it.
Thank you. So that's where I'm at with that. I think it's gonna be pretty rad, pretty groovy to put in place, and I think what makes it more exciting is not so much getting it set up as just a regular normal server, but setting up so it can be also a gaming PC, which is completely ridiculous and is not it's probably not the highest and best use of my time, but I'm really going to like the final product. And the way Dell has a little snap-on grill thing for their servers kind of looks cool. I'm gonna have to modify my rack to be able to take this thing, but that's okay. I'm here for it.
Awesome. I look forward to hearing about how this project advances. You said, 6 weeks?
Probably about, because I just can't purchase the hardware now. I mean, I could if I really wanted to, but I also want to stay.
You're being budget conscious.
I'm being budget. I'm trying to be an adult, and now that I'm more than 4 decades old, I should probably start being responsible. So there's that. So speaking of being responsible, you've been working on Destination Linux 375. Oh no, it's out.
Yes. So I actually got to be on DL. What was that? 375. Yes. And it was one of those situations where Jill couldn't make it, and they were already set to record on that Wednesday. And I got a message as I was driving, because believe it or not, we were headed back from a robotics function.
Oh, no figure. I mean, go figure.
and got a message from Michael, hey, Jill can't make it. Can you? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll be there. And so that was a lot of fun. It kind of felt like doing Hardware Addicts again. It's been a long time. Right. As a side note, that might be coming back.
Ooh,
we're working on it. There's some behind the scenes stuff going on to potentially make that happen. And then Ryan's going to be gone for episode 377. So Jill and I get to gang up on Michael in that episode. I cannot wait. It should be an absolute blast. I mean, of course, listen to all the Destination Linux episodes. But if you would like to catch me on Destination Linux, you could check out 375 and then the upcoming, not out yet, not recorded yet, 377.
Fantastic.
So it means it's going to be a more entertaining episode because there's no Ryan.
Oh, you're so mean. So I'm going to enjoy it, especially if there's a little bit of like ganging up on Matt on Michael. That'll be fantastic. So
yeah, I got to throw some shade at Ryan in 375, which is a whole lot of fun. Stuff got brought up from the episode where he ended up looking like a donkey and the whole drool meter kind of stuff. So we got to have some fun and play with that. I mean, I always get a kick out of some of the stuff that Ryan says when I'm either like live in the Patreon room or hearing it afterwards, and I take it all in good fun. Like there's no offense taken here. It actually takes quite a bit to offend me. But
I noticed
it's extra fun when I can be live with him and kick it back at the same time.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's fantastic. And I think the fact that you trolled him in video through the editing, how many episodes? I don't know, it was just recently. That was pretty funny. and I think it
was 371 that I was able to troll him with that. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. It's definitely been a little while. I'll drop that link in the show notes if you want to see the video. But I know there's quite a few people who just listen to DL and don't actually watch it. But I do try to add, just like the show, some other add-ons, some things like the video games that they're playing. I'll play trailers and stuff for that. And sometimes I get to just troll Ryan.
And that's fantastic. Now, mostly I listened to it, but I had to go back and watch the trolling because I heard about it and I thought that was funny. So to me, so I mostly listen to podcasts while I commute to work, and so it's probably not a good idea for me to watch podcasts when I'm driving. I'm thinking,
don't watch and drive. That's not safe.
That would definitely be a Matt kind of move to do. No, not smart. Gonna need to pixelize that one there.
Yeah, maybe.
No, because I already know what she's gonna do. She'll just have you and her in the frame instead, and just shift out that part of the video.
That is possible. I could totally do that because I do have that set up for this one too.
That's good idea.
Or I could display some other screen over it and the donkey on Matt as well. Hey, I've got editing powers.
So here's another section you have to edit. So.
Yeah, I feel like I need a dunce cap for some of this too. So
I've actually put one on Michael in past episodes too. Oh, yeah, that has happened.
So wait a minute. The one thing I don't like about this so far is you have taken over the job that I had originally, which was to troll everybody on the network.
Yes.
The power of the editor, people. The power of the editor. Learn it, respect it, or else you will get trolled and you just won't know it until the product comes out.
So
that is very true.
And Nate, you want to know why I'm nice to Wendy and Jill and not to you, Michael and Ryan? This is why.
Honestly, I've never questioned that. But again, I will say, if you're ever nice to me, I'm going to be worried either that you're sick, you're terminal, something really awful, you're something bad is truly bad is going on. You just don't have the energy, because I know that once you stop trolling me, I know that our friendship, there's something strained in our friendship, and I can't.
The friendship's over.
Right.
Yep.
Maybe not over, but definitely strained. And if you just, if you were nice to me for an extended period of time, I honestly, I would probably fly out or drive to make sure you are okay. I have your address now, so I would definitely do that.
Well, we didn't get into why you have my address now, did we?
We're not going to talk about
that. So for those that don't know, Nate bought my SteamDeck.
Oh.
So I have two Steam Decks. Well, so okay, here's the thing. My
technically not yours.
Well, I purchased it. My youngest, yeah. So all of my kids have desired and pushed to get different things. Like my son, he has a gaming PC, and my daughter, she has a that pink computer, the Framework Now computer. And then my youngest, he's just kind of been using like hand-me-downs very happily. And so right before we left on my vacation to our vacation, our family vacation, that came in, I think the night before or the day that we're supposed to leave. And so I was just excited. And I said to him, I says, I have something for you. This is something I've been wanting to get you for a while now, and actually was considering to purchase it anyway, like, late on in the year. And so he was so excited and so happy. So most of the trip to and from, Florida, we did a stop on the way in Tennessee, but he was on that Steam Deck and he was having a great time on that Steam Deck, which, by the way, the Steam Deck is a great road warrior companion. And also, the whole what's it called? It's not remote play, but where you can both play the same game, like your it escapes me right now. But
is what remote play?
That's not remote play, but like play along
or play together.
Play together, whatever.
Yeah.
So we played one of the Lego games. I think it was Star Wars. Played Lego Star Wars together, but each on a Steam Deck, and doing the play together thing. And so it was just tons of fun because all as an appliance, it works so well. You can just go to your little friend thing and say play together this game, and boom, it does some spinny things. You kind of reminds me of back in the DS days. I'm talking about like the Nintendo DS, how you could play along together. Now, I think the DS is probably a slightly better experience because you have your own viewport, and in the play together on the Steam Deck, it's kind of it's a little bit of a hack the way they do it, but it still works great. So it's not quite as good, but it's very close and reminds me of that. So anyway, great timing, the whole thing.
You're welcome, Nate.
I may have done some other purchases as a consequence.
So to give context, I'm a big Steam Deck fanboy. I will be the first to admit it. It just didn't fill a role. I have the one over here that has the Windows system. The Steam Deck was originally just it became my portable gaming. And then I got certain systems now that just kind of, it's a what purpose system. And I love the deck, don't get me wrong. But the system that I have in front of me runs Chimera OS, which does most of what the deck was doing originally when I had it docked. So I wanted to give it to somebody who would essentially be able to use it better than me.
Right, and that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah. You gave me a pretty good deal on it, so...
You got a steal of a deal. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
He told me the price.
Matt likes to talk tough, but really, he's a bit of a softie, especially if he knows kids are involved.
Mm-hmm, he is. He gave me a good deal, and
I can't say what I want to because it's network, and I've already made enough editing nightmares for Wendy.
He told me what he wanted for it, and I said, "What's your PayPal?" Like there was no question. I just sent him the money immediately for it.
Like now, yeah.
It's like,
here's the money.
Deal. I'm not.
It was well below. It was well below what a equivocal 512 LCD version of the refurbed Steam Deck would have been. Well below it, because
nice.
Because family friends discount. And
sweetheart.
Nate, I use that term.
Bear.
I should use the term frenemy with Nate.
Yeah. Sweetheart. Sweetheart deal.
Intensive care bear.
He thinks he's an intensive care bear.
Somebody else who's absolutely awesome are the folks over at Pybricks. So last episode 90, I was talking about the Pybricks open source project and how we use it for robotics and some of the ways we might be kind of changing things up for next year. And he listens to the show. And so he he definitely answered some of my questions. So while I don't always answer back on Mastodon, I do typically read them, maybe not always right away, but I do try to get to them. And so he touched base with me on Mastodon. And the first thing that he points out, and I'll read this word for word, is Firefox not supporting web Bluetooth USB is unlikely to change due to security concerns, and there's an actual official position that he links to there. So for all of us who would love to use maybe some of these different web apps or whatever on Firefox, that's not likely to happen due to some of the security stuff with it, but Chromium is still a great option for that, or there's some other Chrome-based browsers out there. I think, Matt, you've used Brave, and there's some other ones that you can play around with that have been de-Googled and whatnot. Number 2 is thank you for being supportive of Pybricks having some add-on stuff for supporters like block code. It's a fine balance that makes FOSS work. And absolutely, I think it's so important that open source projects find a way to fund themselves. They find a way to keep that burnout from happening, because if projects like this don't keep going, I feel it has a negative effect on my team, my kids, and all of that. So absolutely, I 100% support you on this. I love it when other open source projects find a way to keep some sort of income rolling in so that you can keep the back end up and running. Not all of that's coming out of your pocket and the like. So yeah, absolutely. Good work on that. And amazing work on the block code in general. So the number 3 thing that he pointed out was Pybricks also works on VS Codium. And this was not something I realized that you can do. It's one of the things that I had missed from using the official version because there was an add-on for that. But it looks like you can get this working in VS Codium too, which is amazing. Not saying that their web app isn't. There is some fantastic stuff that they do have going on with their web app. And one of the things that's amazing about their web app is easy access to the documentation. So don't be afraid to use their official one on Chrome, but that's nice that they are giving users of Pybricks multiple avenues and able to use that. And
for sure,
I have to be honest, my favorite one of the ones that he brought up was that the comment block was something that the community had requested, and something that I've noticed from them is they are extremely responsive to the community. That's why the comment block got added in there. And for those of you out there who've never dealt with drag and drop block code, one of the downsides of that, at least when we're using the official Lego version, is on our Python version of that, there would be a comment up the top saying, hey, this is the mission. This is who wrote that section of code. I'm not sure how we're going to make that work beside the code, because we also have comments next to it. So say the kids change a distance value. We have them comment that next to it. And maybe we can just drag a comment block right there next to that thing so they can keep track of the changes. And it's one of those situations that they walk into judging. They can say, see, we've spent some time on this code. This is who wrote the code, being able to prove that everyone got to participate in writing the code and that it wasn't a one and done. And the best thing about comments on that is as they're making tweaks and changes, they can be like, oh yeah, we've set it to this distance before or whatnot. Sometimes the battery drain is just a little bit too much. We didn't realize that it was too much. Now that the battery is full, going back to some of those original numbers work better. So having that documented is absolutely fantastic. And like I said, I absolutely love this project. And not only is the hub code great, it's really the people behind it that make it fantastic. So the last one is the number 5 comment that he made was, you can mix blocks and Python and have team members with different skill levels work together. There's an import block on the yellow tab, so you can import your own Python functions and call them from your blocks. I love this. I love this.
That's super cool.
Yes, exactly. We're potentially going to have a mix of like older students have been doing this 2-3 years, and students who this is their very first year doing it. They're young enough that the block code is going to be the way to go. And we can accommodate both of those skill levels with Pybricks. If I haven't told you enough, I love this open source project. Check it out if you've got Lego hubs that you'd like to use. My youngest, I think we're going to go ahead and throw this on his little hub. I think it's called the Spike Prime Essentials. So it only has 2 ports on it. It's a pretty small hub, and let him start playing with that because there is a possibility that he's going to be on this upcoming team. Thank you so much for the feedback on this project, listening to the show, and just throwing it out there for me in Mastodon. Like I said, I don't always get good at responding. Okay. I'm crappy at responding, and it doesn't matter if you're sending me messages on Mastodon, if you're sending me a text message. It might take me a while. That poor friend of mine on Signal, sometimes it takes me 3 or 4 days to get back, right? You know, things get crazy. I guarantee you I'm not great at responding, but thanks for the shout out and giving me that feedback.
So I have toyed around with this whole the Spike Prime in the past. They haven't actually raised the price on it in years. Lego's pretty darn decent, I think.
Yeah, they've been pretty consistent with their pricing. We have the Spike Prime hubs, but you can get the Mindstorm hubs. They're exactly the same hub. The official Spike Prime is yellow, and the one in their Inventor kit, whatever, I think it's like a blue-green, but they're the exact same hub. The firmware that comes on the Mindstorm hub, I think, has controls for remote control, or has some different programming for the remote control. I haven't actually looked into Pybricks to see if they have that available. Not that you can officially use remote controls in FLL games, but it's kind of one of the things that I wish we had kind of touched on with some of our FLL kids, because once you're advancing to FTC, you are having to program a controller, and I don't even have it handy right here, but you're having to program a controller in order to run your robot. So for FTC, you have 30 seconds that's autonomous. After that 30 seconds, the rest of it is driver controlled. And so just having a little bit of background in that, how do I program a remote, knowing the difference between, hey, this is an analog switch, this one isn't. So where this one isn't, I have to tell it percentage of pressure or whatever in order to get some of those controls working. So that's definitely something I would like to touch on with the kids for sure.
Yeah, I think I don't want to push off the server build, but I think this would be a good idea just to do. I think my youngest would get into this too. Actually, I think all my kids would enjoy this. They like Legos, and yeah. And I've talked about it in the past. I think for the last, since you started talking about it like a couple of years ago. So
yeah, since I've talked. Well, this is going into my 4th season. Yeah, I'm headed into my 4th season.
Holy cow!
I know.
Has it been that long?
We've actually been doing this show for a while. It's been that long. Yeah, yeah. This coming season will be my 4th season. Nope, not so much.
It has to be, because like
Nate,
the 90s.
You got to remember.
Look, the 90s is only like 8 years ago, 9 years ago, right?
No,
not so much. Yeah,
no,
not so much.
You got to remember. We've done what's the actual show number if we count DLN?
So this is 92 of Linux Out Loud. I would actually have to check Fireside to see what the official number is. But
170?
Nate's been on all of those, and then Matt and I joined together at the same time when things had to be switched up.
I'd say it was probably 170.
It's getting close to 200. Yeah.
So if you multiply that out of the course over, so you're talking 4 years almost as we started.
No, let's not do the math. It's not necessary. No math is necessary.
And we've dropped down to only 1 episode every 2 weeks instead of weekly. So yeah, it's definitely been going for a while.
Nate, it's been going for a long time now. Another year will be half a decade.
All right, I'm done. Let's just go ahead and wrap it up.
Well, I have to look. I have to see for sure. So on Fireside, it says that episode 90 was 188. So when this drops on Fireside, it'll be 189 episodes.
That means we've been doing it.
Stop, man. Please stop.
Nate, you want some? I mean, I'm already being an enabler on hardware and stuff and software at this point.
Right.
I'm making your wallet cry, so I'm trying to make you physically cry at this point.
To be fair, there was an episode back 182 that ended up getting duplicated because that was the one that had the issues with the audio where I accidentally cut out both of you in certain instances.
Probably the best show yet.
So it got reposted as a 183. But
So you might need to do that on the episode you have when Michael's there. And if you just accidentally mute his entire feed, it'll be a great show with you and Jill.
I'm not going to do that on purpose, though. I do anticipate having some super, super fun conversations with Jill. You haven't thrown any games at us for a while, Matt. Do you have 1, 2, 3 games for us?
I have 3. And
are any of them baseball games?
3.
Kidding.
I mean, I can throw them at you if you want, like literally.
Literally. Yeah.
So these games actually are on GOG. They are free currently with your Amazon Prime subscription. So these are games that you will own. Novel.
Nice. I like it.
And the game is currently available. The games that are currently available are Star Wars Battlefront 2. This is the classic edition, not the butchered EA modernization loot box infested POS that they launched a year and a half, 2 years ago. So this is the original Star Wars Battlefront 2, or AKA Classic. That is one game that is available. There is a puzzler called The Lullaby of Life. Not my style of game, but very family friendly style of game as far as like if you like puzzlers and kind of that jazz.
You got me interested with the puzzler, yeah.
And then
it looks like Nate too. We're both copying it at the same time.
And then there is one called Blast Brigade versus the Evil Legion of Dr. Creed, which is essentially a side scroller. It's a side scroller. Generally falls into what they call the Metroidvania style games. Most people know them as 2D side scrollers, but it's got like a 3D art style. So, all free. Just go to your Amazon stuff. It'll give you a code that you spit out. Go to redeem your code in GOG Galaxy or GOG itself. Redeem it.
Nice.
The only thing that will or you can do it within Heroic, and it'll simply tell you this is the only indication that it's from Amazon is at the very end. It'll say Amazon Prime Gaming or something of like the redeem code for when you actually redeem it. Like whatever, I can deal with that if it's from a service where I actually like the service. Generally speaking, they do a few dumb things here and there, but I like if I can actually own the EXE, cold storage it, and not care. And it's from Amazon, which is super rare when it comes to actually owning your stuff.
Right.
Look at your digital collection and see if you still have stuff that you bought from Amazon. I know I can say I don't.
Yeah, my biggest issue with that has been an audiobook that I bought from them. And I think it was the publisher or whatever who pulled one version and they released another version. And the reader of the second version is crap.
I hear you, because there was some stuff that I bought. Was it something on Audible? There was something in one of my collections. It was an ebook or an audiobook. I don't remember which one it was, but they were no longer available. And then you can kind of insert the same thing with like music that you've bought. And at one point, you could download the MP3s. You can still do it. It's really super annoying to do.
To get around and do the work throughs to actually get to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's the whole movie thing. At one point, you could download movies that you bought from Amazon. You can't do that. Well, you can, but you can't unless you have an Amazon device or a Prime Video app or whatever, which is super annoying as well. So I figured 3 games haven't been around for a while and they're all ownable. So why not recommend them? And they're already free if you're an Amazon person anyway. So
nice. I like the look of the Lullaby for Life. I haven't actually checked out the other 2. It's kind of cutesy graphics. Yeah, fun.
I think it looks fun. I'm redeeming it right now.
I don't actually have any of the GOG apps installed, but if I did, I probably would too.
I'm going to do them all. Thank you, Matt. And also, there goes my Saturday.
You're welcome.
No.
And you're also welcome.
Well, I'm going to try to be an adult here because I have all these projects that have to get done.
He won't.
You're right. Never mind.
Don't lie. Don't lie.
Fine. No, you're right.
This is what happens when you've been co-host with some people for so long. You just know. No, you don't. Don't lie.
You just know. Yep, absolutely. I might play games this weekend. Probably not as much because Magneto's gone out of town for the week. So I guarantee that most of my weekend will not be playing games because he's got to go out of town the following week. But
as an example, me trying to not buy new hardware. Good luck with that. Longest I made it was 6 months.
Not even that. Yeah, it wasn't even close
3 or 4.
That you said not for a year, but yeah, you made it 3 months.
And he tried to slide in like all Sly too, if I remember correctly.
Unfortunately, that was on a Deal and Extend episode a long time ago, and I got rid of those things, so I can't even pull the audio back up.
It's still out there.
Actually, you can pull the audio back up because
I can because it's saved in Fireside, YouTube, whatever, forever.
It's in Cloudland.
Yep.
It's in Cloudland. I'd have to remember what episode that was, though.
Goldfish brain is to my advantage here.
We can just ask Microsoft Copilot.
No, heavens, no.
We've become great friends.
Try Llama instead. Maybe Llama will pull it up.
Who's Llama? Which one's Llama?
Llama 5 is Meta. But you can use that in the app of the week. It wasn't. Yes, it was last week. It was on the one that I helped co-host. So 375, there's an app, and I'll drop it in the links there that you can use Llama locally.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, drop that link.
I will definitely do that. You're dropping more hardware, Nate, with the WatchGuard series. Is this for work or home?
Well, this is for home. So, but it's actually it's 2, and it's called a WatchGuard. Now, WatchGuard is what I'll be using in conjunction with something else. But
okay.
So we use WatchGuard appliances, and these are pretty cool looking. They're 1U units. They're red. They're bright red, fire engine red, perhaps. And we have to have them, so they have to be only of certain age for security reasons, like for cybersecurity, all these like insurance and everything else. We got to make sure everything is, everything has got to be on the up and up. It's got to be certified and everything else. So they have old WatchGuard appliances, and these are not, we can't use them anymore. And so they're sitting in the server room. And what's really cool is since I'm the IT manager, I can make the policies, and the policy states that the IT people can take things home. So I really like the policy. Anyway, what I did is I installed OPNsense, which is a fork of PFSense, on this. Now it was a little bit of a bit of a challenge to do. So I couldn't find like an all-inclusive guide for getting it set up, but I did find bits and pieces here and there. So one was like from a PFSense guide, which pretty much could be the same. I got also an OPNsense guide, which for how to set up OPNsense, and everything else. So although they're pretty similar, there wasn't like an all-inclusive singular guide I could use. And then in order to be able to install it, there's no video display on this at all. So you have to use a serial console and use Minicom to do the installation, which is kind of fun and kind of neat. Except when I first tried to do it, I didn't have some of the things set right. So I found it on a guide. I just set it to the 115 kilobaud speed rate, and so that made it so I would read or receive the information correctly, not a bunch of like garbage. And then I set up the ports and such. So this thing has on the front of it, it has 7 ports. So only 6 of them go up to gigabit, and then a couple of USB and everything else. So what I want to do is I'm not going to worry about the 10100 port. I'm going to leave that one. Not going to touch it. So I'm going to set this thing up so I have 2 WAN ports, so I can do like a bonded pair or failover, round robin, something like that. So I have my cellular network that I use now, which is mostly good, but it's not always fast. And then so what I'd like to do is get Starlink, so I have both of them, and then I can have bonded pair between them. And then so because sometimes Starlink does drop out a little bit, so between the two, I should always have tip-top internet speeds. And then when I'm when I'm streaming, Linux Saloon or doing other things, maybe doing this show, I don't have to worry about like my internet connection just dropping out and going dead. I'll have this. Mm-hmm. So the other thing that I can do too is also VLAN. I'm going to divide up the network into VLAN. So I have about 155 clients on my network right now. That's wired and wireless, mostly wireless.
Wow.
And so one of the problems with that is when you have a lot of devices, they chat, they talk, and they're telling each other about their days and what they had for dinner and everything else. And so I don't really want to have the chatter from my light switches interfering with other things that I'm doing. So my concern is that there's going to be too much. It shouldn't be like a problem, but it does reduce the efficiency of my network. So I want to set things out, divide things out, have like a main network, then definitely set up like a guest network. And then probably like as I put in some more smart switches, programmable like layer 3 switches, I'd like to manage switches, I should say. I'd probably like set up a net manage VLAN so that I can't directly access, like the ILO ports on the server that I'm going to set up. We talked about previously, and then the net manage, the console port, whatever for these devices. So put those on their own VLANs, just kind of separate them out for security reasons too, because I do give, I will have some people have access to my network, and that like friends and family, whatever, just have regular access to the network. And then also all my Home Assistant lights and switches and everything else, probably put that on their own VLAN as well, so they're not on the main network, so they're divided off. And then as I add cameras and security, like locks and whatever, I'll probably put those also, so everything security related, like physical security related, put those on their own VLAN as well. And then maybe some other things. Maybe I'll divide the printers out, but I've only got 2 printers. I actually only have 1 printer right now. Then that could probably just be on the main network. But if I had more printers, I'd probably do something like that. Yeah. Or as I do I have a lot of retro tech and I want to put them on the network. I'd probably then for Cubicle Labs probably put that on its own VLAN as well, because I don't necessarily want. Yeah. And if I'm playing with like an old DOS machine or Windows 98, I probably don't want that accessing the internet just wholesale. So probably set that up to be a little bit better guarded and whatnot. So I'm looking at different ways to improve network efficiency, security, and everything else here. And now I realize OPNsense is not Linux. It's actually FreeBSD, I believe, or one of the BSDs. For those that might complain that this is a Linux Out Loud show and I'm talking about some sort of BSD, please don't hang me by the yard arm. It's open source.
So I'm definitely curious how your bonded network goes, because that is actually something that I've been thinking about. Starlink has actually been running fantastic for us here, but we are on the northern end of things, and you're further north than I am, and so you have some of the older satellites that are in rotation. And I can definitely tell when I'm connected to some of the newer satellites versus some of the older satellites based on the speeds that I'm getting. Though, I mean, to be fair, everything that I'm pulling, even from the older satellites, is way, way better than I could get from anybody out here. But the overall advantage for me with the bonded network would be upload speed. So Typically, I'm seeing a max of 20 megabits per second up, sometimes a little bit more, but I would say my average is between 5 and 10, kind of depending on which satellite I'm connected to at what time. Weather can have some effect on Starlink. I live in the desert, so rain isn't a big issue for me, but a content creator that I follow lives in Florida, and he does deal with a lot more rain, and sometimes some of those rain clouds can cause a slowdown in network speeds, which I think is something that you deal with quite a bit. Right, Nate?
I mean, we do get a lot of rain here, and that is a problem. Especially this time of year, since it's hot and humid right now, we'll get pop-up thunderstorms, and that has more of an effect on the consistency of electricity. I don't know if you recall, but was it last year we were doing a show and I said, hey, we're going to have to kind of wrap this up because I haven't had power now for about 5 minutes. Remember that?
Yeah. Yep.
So there's that. But I should hopefully have, speaking of which, that's a reminder, I have to rebuild another UPS for here. All right, thanks for that.
In order to make sure that you can continue, power. Not a problem. Glad to help remind you of everything. So I am curious on how that bonded network works for you. It is something that I have been looking into, just not something that I've ever actually jumped in and done yet.
So I can say with the WatchGuard appliance that we have in Texas, or the Texas plant that I manage as well, just the IT. I don't manage the whole plant, just the IT. I have Starlink there now. I think we've talked about this maybe on the show. I can't recall, but what we did
in passing, you talked about getting it.
What we did do for that was because of the issue of having static IP for the VPN tunnel that joins the two plants together. I couldn't do a bonded pair with that because some of the traffic might have a different IP address. So what I did down there was use Starlink as a failover as well as the guest network. So guest network traffic doesn't go through the main fiber out. We use the Starlink, and I do that not because I necessarily want to have, I want to use up our priority bandwidth, but more for testing and also to ensure that things are working properly. So I will know if there is a problem and I can address it immediately rather than just expect it to be working or run specific tests. It will just become apparent immediately when it's not working properly, and I don't have to. It's a self-correcting system. So, and on that, we do have the Starlink just got wired in today in Michigan, so we'll have that as our failover. So,
nice.
Nice. Anyway, that's just an aside, but kind of on the whole switch thing. So, one of the great things about really, Cubicle Nate and then this show and everything else that I do is it's forcing me to constantly learn and grow. And the more I learn, the more I realize I just don't know anything. And so I learn more and realize I know even less than what I realized I knew just a few years previously. So I'm not sure if I'll ever actually know anything, but I'm learning all these things. And this is very exciting to be able to do this. And this one is going to be a rough, this WatchGuard, but this turning those WatchGuard into an OPNsense box will be a rough, not difficult, rough as in rough on me article to write, because there's so much learning I'm doing, and then I've missed some of the capture pieces of this because I'm just trying to figure things out. So I have two other WatchGuard appliances that I can convert, so I might do it again just to test it again. And this will have some benefits also down the road, because I think I want to probably put together another DMZ in the plant to separate things out, to just make things a bit more secure at the plant. So, it's not bad now. It's a tortured path now, but I think we can make it even more tortured to protect, for cybersecurity protection, make it some more difficult.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
More difficult to be able to take down. So, and it'd be pretty hard to take us down.
Not that it's ever going to be unhackable, but put a few more layers in the path of anybody who wants.
Right. No lock is unbreakable. It's just how long is it going to take for them to break the lock. And I think that's the real key, because if we know somebody is trying to do something nefarious, which I think recently we had an event, but it was taken care of. So nice. we had an event. I don't want to talk about it because it's they're spying work on stuff. Me. They it wouldn't be hard to find me where I work. So the Anyway, we had an event and we were able to quarantine it and contain it, so it didn't cause any issues. But so disaster preparedness is one of the things I'm working on a lot, and verifying that we can restore rapidly should something happen. Because if we're down for any period of time, it is going to cause a loss of lots of money. Yeah. So, and I want to make sure that we're ready to rock and roll if something happens. So anyway, it all kind of
absolutely,
it's all intertwined.
I'm excited about this project.
This is a fun one. This is a high payoff project. The others are fun, but this is high payoff.
Most definitely.
Yep. So right now, the status of right now, it is on, it is configured, it is doing what I need to do. I'm going to use a Class A private network as opposed to a BRC for simplicity purposes for me, and then I'm going to get this thing set up bit by bit. What I'm going to do is to wrap it back into the WatchGuard. Is I'm going to put tail scale on here, add it to my tailnet. So even though this is not exactly where I want my network, I can then configure it very easily remotely because I have a tail scale network, my tailnet. So
nice.
Anyway, so I'm pretty excited.
Nice.
And this is a good one. But you have some exciting things too. I did 3D printing. I know this is Matt's favorite subject, and I'm going to. And I know you got you've added some stabilizers to your Z network. I bought a different build plate, but I have not tested it yet because the glass one was making me angry and things were slipping off of it just once after time and time again, even though I cleaned it. So I got,
because you were saying that even the glue stick wasn't working.
It was making me. It was like it was making me crazy. I was ready to like punch the thing right in its mouth, and I couldn't find its mouth. So maybe I guess the hot end. I don't know. But not enough about me. What did you do to stabilize your Z axis?
So these are something that I'd actually printed off like a year ago, and then I never got the bearings found for them, and they were just sitting next to the 3D printer, and my amazing husband, seeing them sitting there, and then also hearing it screech as it drops down at the end of a print, was like, I'm going to go find you the bearings for this. And he brought me home a couple bearings. So then I had the bearings, but I didn't have the T-nuts and the screws to actually attach them to the railing of my 3D printer. Finally got some of those tracked down.
Matt's kind of a T-nut.
Just a little bit.
Maybe he's more of a wing nut. I can't remember.
Bit of both. Finally got those tracked down and put on, and it was actually the one, if you're looking at it, it would be right side. If you're robot facing, it would be left side kind of thing. But that's the Z-axis screw that had the most wobble, and getting those stabilized. And I'm pretty sure I still have the file somewhere. It's a Thingiverse file. I'll drop it into the show notes as well. But that has done an amazing job. Oh my gosh, it is so much quieter when a print finishes. I don't that horrible droning screech. So with that done, and I actually having it in a not case, I'm not even sure, the enclosure, having an enclosure, even though it's not a great enclosure, it's a soft-sided kind of unifit enclosure, but having it in there, I decided it was time to play with some more advanced filaments. The kids are catting more, they're doing stuff, they're building things that need some of these other filaments, which I can now do since it's in an enclosure. And so that meant getting a filament dryer. I had been kind of throwing things in a food dehydrator to kind of dry out filament, but it didn't work great, mainly because most of the heat was on one side of the filament and whatnot. So I did go ahead and pick up a filament dryer and bought some fun filaments. So this is a print that actually finished today. So this is their driver hub. Forget all of the fingerprints on there. But this is actually printed out of TPU. I had my heat set a little bit too hot at first, and so there's a little bit of bubbling. It's fine. There was some stringiness that needed to be kind of clipped up. I don't know if you can see it very well right here, but in this grill, there's some stringing. I should have increased the retraction on it. And they say that with TPU, maybe you shouldn't use retraction currently on my Under 5 Plus, I am using a direct drive, and this is what Outtro called their high-speed TPU. So it can work for some printers that are Bowden tube fed instead of just direct drive. So I think it printed pretty good. I'm pretty happy with my first TPU print so far. And then we picked up some nylon with carbon fiber, and those are for some parts that are going to take more of an impact, that kind of thing. So robot areas where things are grabbing, collecting, they really need to last a little bit longer. I did grab some of that. And the nylon that I picked up has some of the less absorbent properties of moisture. I do live in the desert, but you're still wanting to keep all that filament dry, and so it prints better. From the reviews I read, the nylon that I picked up with carbon fiber is from Polymaker, and there were some really good reviews about not having warping issues or whatnot. We'll see. I've been happy with my first TPU prints. We also printed some... Well, let me grab it. So these are the controllers that the kids actually use to control their robot. So these are the PlayStation DualShock 4s. And you have to use them wired. You cannot use them wireless on your robot. And so we were able to find these stabilizers here that keeps your cord locked into where it's supposed to be. You're not having the twisting and bending there at the port. One of the issues that the kids ran into on the previous controllers that they were using was these ends would come loose. And so this is just part of a case we're printing. The back side of this actually has some rails for the cables to sit in and some kind of guards to kind of help protect these and where they go. I was talking to my daughter and I was like, okay, how do you want these printed? She wanted the top case out of TPU, kind of help with some of that impact. And then the bottom piece to be printed out of PLA with the goal to mount this directly onto their robot tray. What they're going to be taking their controller, driver hub, and their controllers on back and forth to their different matches and the like. So it's gone pretty good. I'm happy with it. And because I'm happy with the way it's running now and the fact that I can print TPU a little bit easier because it does have the direct drive, instead of putting dual extruders on this one, I just need another 3D printer.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I just need another 3D printer. I told my daughter that, and her response was, where is it going to go? Magneto doesn't know yet that I would like to build another 3D printer, and this one I'm not going to buy. I want to build it from scratch exactly the way that I want it. I know the kind of boards and all of that stuff that I want. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he's going to ask me the same question. Where is it going to go? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Well, that's when you tell him his side of the bed.
That's probably not that's not an important question to answer, really.
Now, I wouldn't replace my husband with a 3D printer, but I would replace the couch with a 3D printer. Now it's your turn to toss in your 2 cents on today's topics. Hit the discourse form. Drop us a line under this video or in the contact form by visiting tuxdigital.com/contact. If you would like to hang out with us on our preferred social media, see the links in the bottom of the show description. Find other great shows like Pseudo Show, which is back, and they are releasing monthly. So there's 2 newer ones out. There'll be another one coming out this next month. If you haven't checked out Pseudo Show, Bill is a regular on it. They talk about some really interesting things from a different perspective. Definitely a different perspective than we do. So check out the Pseudo Show. There's also Destination Linux, which is a fun show with all kinds of apps and tips and tricks and gaming as well. There's always a game of the week. It's almost like they are vibing Matt there, maybe.
A little bit.
Yeah? No? A little bit. And then we've got... Yes?
So I enabled the other show to do what we already do.
Love it.
I guess I'm an enabler then, Nate.
Yeah, but we all knew this.
He admits it. I will put that on loop for you. We'll gif it. It's cool. And then we've got Linux Saloon, which is something that, Nate, you get to put on every Saturday, kind of a virtual lug for anybody who wants to.
And it's loads of fun. Everybody's welcome. You don't even have to use Linux. You can just show up and say, I just play my Nintendo Entertainment System. Or that's cool too.
Nice. I love it. Hopefully, I'll get around to being able to jump in there again. You can check out more shows at tuxdigital.com. You can show off your love for your favorite podcasts and shows by visiting the Tux Digital merch store. Grab yourself some awesome swag, like the gamer-centric I Paused My Game to Be Here shirt. Thank you, Matt, for pausing your game. We're so glad that you have graced us with your presence. He only paused it for a little bit.
He's been playing his game for like the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, probably. Definitely while we were having the 3D printer discussion, but maybe when you were talking networks too.
Probably.
Yeah?
I wouldn't doubt it.
Or you can join hashtag Team Wendy with some sinister Wendy swag.
Evil. It's Team Evil, I swear.
Incur your...
Not evil, but if you throw shade, I can throw shade back.
I wouldn't incur upon the wrath of the editor, Matt. Let's try and keep your head in the right spot.
As always, we thank you for joining us. We'll be back next time with another awesome episode of Linux Out Loud. Until then, keep the banter friendly, the conversation somewhat on topic, and have fun doing it.